too, who's the founder of Calm. I was curious about how it got started. And I accidentally found him because I was looking at sleep stories by author. And it came up that he was the co-CEO or something. So I Googled him and found out how they did Calm. And he's 36 and he's a millionaire. It's very interesting. It's Alex TEW.
And that other guy is Jeff Warren, right?
Yeah. He had a good one today.
I listened to his at night.
Mhm.
So I won't listen to his. I listen to hers in the morning. And I think it's good to have a guy, and Tamara, I've been doing it for 5 years now. I mean, I was one of the first.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's when I first hired my first coach. So was that 5 years? Yeah. Yeah, it'll be 5 years. So, and it was actually her husband, it was Charlene's husband that mentioned Calm. And then I'm like, okay, well, let me try this. And then I think what was helpful with that is this idea that it's not stopping the mind. And then right after that, I signed up for this 6 weeks course in self-compassion, which kind of took me another step forward into not beating myself up because I'm not doing the meditation right, kind of thing.
Sometimes with Jeff, I think about you when he's talking, because I see some things in you that are in him.
Yeah.
Perfectionist and all that.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting. Maybe it was today's, or maybe it was last night. He was talking about being an introvert.
Yeah, not today.
So yeah, that must have been last night, or yesterday's or whatever, but being an introvert, and he doesn't seem like someone who does this, records themselves and writes and shares from his heart would be an introvert. But, he's talks about being at a party and,
yeah, I heard that
being nervous. Yeah. Okay.
But today's gives you a little more insight into him and how he got to where he is.
Okay.
You'll like it.
Yeah. Well, I did his 14-day series. He has a 14-day series, like in that, what is it? Calm for anxiety, or calm for eating disorder, or calm for whatever, and it's good. This is a good segue into what I wanted to talk about today, because, what's helpful is recognizing that we all have the same stuff come up. And, no matter where we are in this process, there's a lot more similarities than there are differences. So on Monday, at my Yogi Talks, which is a group of all 500-hour graduates. So we're people who studied this at St. Pete Yoga, where they really, really hit on this part of it, the real part of yoga. And so they were talking about like what disposition or situation would meditation be good for. And I've spoken to this a little bit, because if you're lethargic and depressed, you don't want to do meditation necessarily. There's a different remedy for that. What?
I'm laughing because on Saturday when I felt so bad, I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to breathe my way out of this.
Yeah, and to fill Fernando in, when we were talking earlier, Fernando, both Vivian and her husband got the second vaccination and both had pretty significant reactions, flu symptoms. So yeah, it's hard to calm yourself out of being sick and having a fever.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I brought up, I actually told a little bit of your story with what you had shared, and because I had the same thing happen. This idea that you get to this blissful place, right, in your meditation, and then you want to get back there. So you mentioned being here and seeing your mom or whatever, this idea, and I kind of I told Leah, who was running that talk, that I had to be the bearer of bad news and say, it's not that that's not going to happen, but that's really not our goal. We can't have a goal of feels good in mind. So again, kind of a reiteration of what this process is for. It's not to get better at meditation. There's not a point where you go, okay, I've got this. And so much of the way I process the world is, and I called it a performance evaluation. It's like how well I did, right? Like how well I did a real estate transaction, or how well did I get it right? Did I do it perfect? All of these things, right? That's what comes up with me. So, in this instance, and I remember it specifically the day that it happened, kind of like yours. It's like this memory that you have because it was so awesome. But they used to have a Sunday morning meditation thing that was kind of like this. This is modeled after what they would do at St. Pete Yoga on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. And it was not just a single point focus, but they took us through this scaling where it's physical, or it's breath, or it's heartbeat. Then it's this stepping back, and we've done it a couple of times where you're the watching mind looking at your thinking mind. So it's this kind of deep process that I was always like, they're crazy. There's no splitting my mind into two halves here. It's like it's still all just Bob. But I got to that point where I was going, oh, look, there he is doing that thing and making his grocery list. So in my mind, I was the observer, just objectively observing, not judging or critiquing or evaluating or performance reviewing him, the other side of my brain, but just noting. And then I had this like, oh my God, that's awesome. I finally got it. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I think I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not meditating anymore. Because again, that's the tricky mind going, wait, I found a place to get around and make them think about something else. So even though, and there's nothing wrong with that good feeling, it's just, so it's kind of like observing it, just like you're observing everything else, but not getting swept away. So I got all caught up in it. And then just like you had shared, I kept wanting to find my way back there, where really, if this is done at edge, that place where there's the greatest potential, it's a little bit uncomfortable. It's like, it's not really that great. Yeah. So it's not necessarily, feel good is not a good marker to decide. And it's not that those things won't happen, and it's not that that's accessible. It's just that you want that. And again, it's another brain thing. I want to feel good again. I want to have that feeling. I want to have that. So you're seeking that out rather than doing the rest of the work, which again, it's the busy, overactive, overthinking mind that you can't turn off the switch. And actually last night I had something come up where I had like heartburn. So it woke me up, and it just took a while, and I haven't had heartburn in forever. I'm like, what did I eat that's causing this? Or is there something else that's causing this? Or, and I took some Tums and I just couldn't go back to sleep. So I'm like, I'm going to just get up. And then I ended up staying up. So I think I pretty much got up at 3 a.m., rolled around for an hour. But again, physical pain like that, I couldn't get off the ride by meditating my way out of it. So I just decided I'm going to get up, and then I've been up ever since. I got up at 4 and I took a walk, and I built a yoga class, and I worked a little bit on this, and I sent emails out. So, I need to take a nap. Today will be a nap day. But it's part of what this self-awareness gives us is this knowing, like when we're past edge, like you're having this reaction to the shot, you're just sick. It's, you can maybe breathe and things like that, but you're not going to really disconnect from that. That's just, maybe part of the gift of meditation in that is this too shall pass, because there's a certain amount of accepting the way that things are, knowing that they're going to change, So that might be like one of those nuances where it's not actually doing the meditation to get yourself out of it, but it's that what you learned during your meditation that gets you out of it.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, you know, how we learn everything in real estate or whatever the career is, but you really learn it by doing it. So meditation's the same way. You know, you can read about it. You can, like the bike example, you can read about riding a bike, but you have to get up and balance, and the reading probably isn't going to get you anywhere. But, and then you probably, since you listen to Calm, you've heard this word equanimity.
Equanimity.
Yeah. And it's just, this is that idea of just accepting things the way that they are. And I remember when you first started, it's like if anything happened, like the phone buzzed in your purse or the garbage truck went by, it's like, oh, well, we're done, we're out, you know, but it's like then recognizing that that's just like the equanimity thing is just accepting things just the way they are right now, because the garbage truck's going to go away. And what's been powerful for me, like as I'm leading other meetings and even when I'm teaching my yoga class and some crazy person, like my boss at the Y comes in to tour someone and I've got everyone in Shavasana. So I'm just like, okay, well, this is just, it's going to push everyone else like probably past their edge because you can't have someone busting in the room. But, so yeah, just this idea of the practice being for this bigger goal and that's the elusive one. It's getting better at life. Out there, things are going to show up. And I know you've had that experience. I'm certainly have had that experience. And you will continue to have those experiences. Talking about that, there's rare is the yogi who's really practicing true yoga, which includes, it's all this meditation type stuff, who hasn't continued to have aha moments along the way. I think I might have mentioned last week about beginner's mind, and I thought I had beginner's mind, and then I'm like, oh shit, I've been doing beginner's mind wrong all along. And it's like, no, I'm not. That was just what I needed to think beginner's mind was until I got to this deep level, digging deeper and digging deeper. So let me just look at my notes here. And then just this recognizing that there are other tools in the toolkit. And that's why I like to always bring up this journaling or writing stuff down as it comes up, because, and I resisted this hugely. It's, you know, I wanted to type it on my computer. I wanted to record it and go back and listen to it. But there's something about the writing of it down, even if it's not perfect grammar. And again, my perfectionism is going to come up there. Do I have the right perfect journal? Do I have, you know, but just that act of writing it down. There's something about, remember, probably when you were a kid, you had to write down your spelling words.
Like 5 times.
Yeah, 5 times. So there's something about that writing it down more than just saying it or thinking it. It's like you think, oh no, I got that. Particularly when you're right out of a meditation. So I want to talk about, we've talked about journaling after we meditate. There's also an opportunity if you have your journal nearby and there's that nagging thought to just stop, write down, don't forget the appraisal or whatever it is, or don't forget ginger on the shopping list. I'm just trying to think of one. There's something in there that I'm worried that's not on the list.
Saltines.
And then one of the things that I was introduced to just last night, so great, there we go. Now we're going down the rabbit hole. I'm like, wait, do I need crackers? But it's a little bit of journaling before you meditate.
Oh, that's
like, yeah, and we've talked about this idea of scaling. So say, you know, you've had a lot going on. There's something that's gone on and you're trying to pull yourself out of that rumination, that repetitive broken record thought, maybe writing some things down to let some of that out as a way to scale into a meditation.
Oh.
So, and it was interesting. It's like, oh, all this time I've been doing it, and I used to pretty regularly, because I'd have some pretty big ideas when I was in my meditation, or something would come up. It's like, oh, I want to explore that. So I'd write that down, and there was a lot of serendipity that happened. Like, I'm thinking something, I write it down, and then I need that very piece of information that day, which I'm not sure if I didn't write it down, I would have remembered. You know what I mean? We're convinced that we can remember it. But I never, so that was a pattern. And again, a pattern that I kind of got locked into. You have to do it this way. You have to meditate and then write. Can't take a break in between. Journaling has to be right after meditation. All my rules, you know. Great for a broker mind, but not so great maybe like just moving through life and floating through the world. But this idea of journaling before you meditate, to let go of some of that stuff, just to write some things down, and then you can follow it with a writing too, or not, or write something down in the middle. But I just want to emphasize that these things that we come up with when we talk about our meditation practice,
I'm putting it on the calendar.
come up everywhere. You know, all of these things come up, regardless of what, who we are. The human brain is amazingly similar. You know, we think we're so different than other people, and you know, there's certain quirkinesses, but it's all of our minds are doing this crazy stuff. And you know, they were describing, I like the way Lahia describes it, because she's very visual with her talking with her hands. She's Colombian, and I think maybe also because I understand, because her brain's probably thinking part in Spanish and part in English, but she was saying the chain of thoughts. Like, I always call it rabbit hole, but I look for other ways when I'm teaching to say it a different way. So it's like this thought links you to another one that links you to another one. So it's this chain reaction that happens, or maybe dominoes is another way. Like, oh, I thought the cracker, and then I thought, you know, cream cheese, and then I thought, you know, that's not vegan. I wonder if they have vegan cream cheese. I wonder if Roland Oats is open. I haven't been to that other health food store over there. I should go walk at the beach. You know, that's a normal way that human brains think. So, all right, so we're kind of doing this all backwards, but what have you been working on this week, and what's been going well, and where are you getting stuck? And
Well, I had like 3 days out of my life that I was just breathing and happy to be breathing.
Yeah.
But I haven't really been working on anything except to maybe give it more time. And I'm amazed that the time goes by so fast.
Yeah.
When I open my eyes, I'm surprised at what the clock says.
Yeah, and you know, I think, you know, that's an interesting element of this that I've really never thought about, because it's hard at first, right? When you
Yeah.
first start doing this, a minute seems like an eternity. And because it's a slow evolution into this, and now you're like, oh, 20 minutes goes by. That wasn't that bad. So, but that takes a long time to get to that place, and we don't notice it, nor do we appreciate that, how we're moving into this process, and it's becoming more second nature. And again, just like riding the bike, you can't ride it once and then 3 years later try again. You have to slowly, you know, work into that, I don't know, Tour de France or whatever bike race it is. You don't just jump on it and do it the first day. So yeah, I want you to practice journaling before. Do that at least once. When you're particularly trying to get off the ride, just try leading your meditation with a journaling, even if it's in the morning, because I know you often do it in the morning.
Yeah, that's
And
my best time.
and one of the other things that came up is like just this, I'm embracing this because I teach it and I've really worked a lot with myself. So I've seen all the things show up, but I was listening to the tentative nature of people sharing in my meeting on Monday night with the yogi talks. They don't want to admit things like, I get bored. Well, yeah, we get bored. like, or this is unproductive. I'm just sitting here. Why am I just sitting here? So those are very normal things. So like, and that's something to journal about, like, just write some of that stuff down, this resistance, or I don't want to do it, or I'm bored, or,
Well, in the beginning, when I was working with you and I had my journal and I was doing things in order,
yeah.
The body check and then the sounds and the breathing. And I would get to the point where I write refrigerator, breathing check, so I quit writing because it was stupid.
Well, yeah. And so what it's, and that's exactly my experience with the whole had to be in my backyard, had to be on my quilt, had to be, like a certain time of day, that it was checking the boxes.
Yeah.
So, and that's how my mind got around the process. Because if you think about it, that allows that analytical, multitasking, busy mind to go, okay, here, did it, done, got it all done, and not just step back and allow the process to happen. So more writing, and I know this is a challenge for you because I've witnessed it over time, and it's more just like what came up and kind of this how do you feel kind of stuff, and just being brutally honest. And you don't necessarily have to share it in the meeting, in this group if you don't want to. I mean, I've like all kinds of crazy stuff comes up, but it's better to put it out there and admit it and just kind of look at that and face that, because this girl was so embarrassed to say that she was bored. And I know exactly what she's thinking. Well, I'm going to fail. And I'm telling you, I said in my very first class like this at St. Pete Yoga, Chris Acosta is teaching it. And he is like, what came up from last week? Kind of like I do. And I said, I suck at meditation. I just admit, I totally suck at it. And I think he was like, oh my God, yay, we got a live one. Because if you're willing to admit that, instead of just like, and he would always joke, because we'd sometimes in the 200-hour class, we might have 42 people, 45 people in the room. And he's asking, and these are all teacher trainers. And he's saying, so and no one will say anything. And he's like, okay, so since no one said anything, then you've all got this and you've all mastered it, which is a joke because you never master it. This is something that you just don't master. So
I remember being grateful when I heard a siren because it was something I could write down. Because I live way back from the street and it's so quiet at 6 o'clock in the morning. All I would hear was either the fridge or the air conditioner. And that was it.
So that might be something that you would write down. Like, I was excited to hear an ambulance, because I get to write this down. I mean, it's again, it's digging a little deeper, and kind of really looking at this gymnastics that the brain will do to pull you out of what you're trying to quiet it down. Because, and what's funny, because I teach this, it's so hard for me to get outside of, oh, that's a great idea. I want to bring that up the next time I do. Like I did this Nidra practice with Yoga Alliance the other day. It was a continuing ed thing. And I'm talking through, she's talking through and she's really good. She just wrote a book about it. And she's like really good with this laying on the floor, getting in touch with yourself. And I'm like, oh, I want to write that down. Well, I can't be doing the meditation and study. So what I need to do is just do it. And then if I want to review it, go back and review it later. So my brain, every time I get into a guided meditation, even on Calm, I'm like, oh, I love Jeff. I have to write that down. Like I have to use that. So it's my mind trying to not do the practice, but do something else. And so that might be something that I journal, or still with a grocery list, but that's okay. I'm okay. And I was able to let go of the grocery list because I know that that comes up and I'm able to come back. So more like, I think telling on yourself a little bit.
I was just going to say, I never would write down things that I wasn't supposed to be doing at that moment.
I know, and that's exactly it.
Like I'm open one eye and look at the clock.
Yeah, exactly. So though, and that's where the self-awareness comes in.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, well, and I think what it is so those are the things that you would very easily forget, right?
Yeah.
Because you're like, here I wrote refrigerator, I wrote, my shoulder hurts, I wrote whatever, my brain was busy. That's it. Not, the true stuff, like, something came up I don't want to talk about, like, because it's like something that like is not getting an A in my brain, or it's not going to help my performance evaluation, or it's not going to get me a good review with that client. They're not going to refer me business if I don't do everything right. And my mom's not going to love me if I don't, do everything right. All of those things, those isms that make up this brain that I'm trying to unravel and take a look and dig through that pile. And that's that onion that you're peeling back. And so, yeah, let's try that. I mean, I'm excited about it too, because I kind of got in a rut with my journaling right after meditation. So then I would try to find time to journal, but then I wouldn't feel like it. And so that's when it was suggested, someone else mentioned that. And they're like, I'm tired and I don't feel like it. Well, meditate before you journal, or journal before you meditate. So journal about it and then just meditate and then come back to it. So using the practice to pull yourself out of whatever it is we're trying to pull ourselves out of. Just, again, self-awareness.
And this pandemic time is such a perfect time to really get into this.
Yeah.
I started before this, but that's what's gotten me through it. Yeah. Truthfully.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's funny along those lines, and just a personal story, my sister and I think I've shared this, we've totally reconnected. Well, she's the oldest, I'm the youngest. We're very close, but when you're in a family with all these people, you don't ever really get to spend time with people, right? Because you're like, there's a million people. My mom used to say that, I just want one person at a time so I can like actually talk to them. And it's not a zoo. I mean, we all have 47 people at my brother's house in North Carolina. It's too many people. So I've connected with my sister because of the pandemic. So I was on this send out card thing that I sometimes use. And it was like a Valentine's thing, something about like, we're social distancing, but we're still connected, or something like that. And so I wrote her a note saying, I'm so happy for the pandemic that like we talk a couple of times a week now. We might have talked 3 times a year.
Whoa.
And now we talk a couple of times a week. So we're constant, and I know she's alone, right? She doesn't have, and she's got a comorbidity where she can't be out. She's a former nurse. So she would go to the like Walmart type place. It's called Meijer, they have up north. And it's one of these everything stores where they sell clothes and kale all in the same building, like a super Walmart or whatever. And she would go in the middle of the night, like, because they would still be open. Well, actually, they used to be 24 hours, but now they close for a couple hours in the middle of the night. But she'd go in the middle of the night when no one was there, like, right, and then she'd wipe everything down with her disinfecting wipes and everything. But we have totally reconnected. So there are good things about it. We can't change it. And we can do the, oh, woe is me and this sucks, which I definitely fall into that too, because I too want to travel. I dream about hugging people and being on an airplane, because I'm like going off to see people or see places and people and meet people or whatever it is. And that's all been taken away. So it's real easy in this time to fall into that. And
have you gotten your sister to meditate?
You know what? I think I've opened her mind to it. She refused to go to the yoga studio when I had all three sisters
Mhm.
because I think her own body dysmorphia and her own, like, my
Mhm.
body doesn't move the way you're supposed to or look like, you should when you're doing yoga. But I think I've got her bought in to this larger practice. So I really want to do this at the next family reunion too. I really want to do that, get people involved in this. So, but let's talk later about doing this video. I'll create an outline
Okay.
and we'll do a video to kind of promote me. And then we can send it. I can send it. I can post it. I can email it. We'll record it. I can upload it on YouTube. You'll be fine.
What should I wear? A black turtleneck, like Steve Jobs.
Or a black V-neck, yeah. No, it doesn't matter. None of that matters. Like, all of that idea doesn't really matter. It's the content, not, and that's what I think this new wave and new generation with YouTube and TikTok and all these different things. It's just like, put it out there. It doesn't matter. Just let yourself come through. And that's what my coach used to always say. He's like, Bob, every time you do a damn video, it's like you are performing what you're supposed to look like when you're doing a video. You're not really being yourself. It's like yourself coming through is what,
Well, I think if you ask me questions, I can be spontaneous.
Yeah. And that's really all it is. And you do a great job, like at, Mastermind and things like that. I know, and I can edit it and I'll make it look good. Don't worry. I won't put anything goofy in that.
I'm
So,
okay.
all right. All right. We'll say goodbye to you. We'll say goodbye to Fernando.
Fernando, we miss you. I hope all is going well for you.
Yes. We'll talk to you later, Fernando. Bye.
Bye.